To attain something you never had, you have to be willing to do something you've never done. What's going on? You're listening to the Perspective Podcast, and I'm your host, Scotty.D.Russell of Perspective Collective. This show is about carving out time to build something for yourself, and I'm going to do everything in my abilities to help you take your creative game to the next level. So this is the bounce back episode after Thanksgiving. If you're like me, you had way too many plates on Thanksgiving Day, and then probably a couple days after that with all the leftovers, and I went out a couple times. So this episode is meant to help you and myself get back on track and laser focus and get yourself ready for the new year. 2018. I want to help you build momentum as I try to ride momentum and start the year off with the bang and, end the year of 2017 with the bang. I want to give you 3 words of encouragement so you can have some patience and a slow and steady grind and enjoy the process of building your creative career. Let's get into the show. After college, I went through 3 years of where I was lost. During that time, I almost quit on my art and I thought I was going to make fitness my profession. During my 1.5-year experiment of personal training, I saw a world that mimics the creative world you and I operate in. Many of my clients or gym attendees were looking for a quick fix. They wanted something that could manifest immediate results with little effort. People were searching for that magic fat-burning pill that'll melt away that stubborn extra flab from eating one too many plates at Thanksgiving. And hearing the truth is always something they didn't want to hear, such as 70% of any fitness goal is what you put into your body, with the other 30% being exercise and resistance training. The same principle applies to your creative career. There's no magic pill that's going to make your YouTube video or Instagram drawing go viral. There may be best practices, but there's no quick fix or guarantee. And like any fitness goal, building a successful creative career takes time. It may not be something you want to hear, but these 3 things are meant to encourage you to enjoy the slow and steady grind you're about to endure as a creative. Number 1, shit doesn't happen overnight. Your creative career isn't a microwavable TV dinner you can create in about a minute. While it may seem that people blow up overnight, I can guarantee you the majority of these cases are far from the fact. So you see these little young 22-year-old YouTube stars. But honestly, these young YouTube stars are probably the same people who've been cutting up film and making shitty videos as a kid. With the old school VHS players. That person with over 100,000 followers on Instagram is most likely the same person who's been drawing on every scrap piece of paper they could find since they were 5 years old. Comparison in the culture we live in convinces us that we need everything yesterday. What's the rush? If you reach the top overnight, where's the fun of the challenge along the way? Okay, as human beings, we need to be challenged in order to grow. Give it some time and have a little patience. Shit doesn't happen overnight. Number 2, if it was easy, everyone would do it. Back in episode 51, I talked about how focusing on the next play was one of the mottos our coaches in college drilled in our heads. The one they stressed even more than that was that if it was easy, everyone would do it. To attain something you never had, you have to be willing to do something you've never done. And this typically involves putting in some type of work or getting your hands dirty. So you want to grow an audience? Well, it's not easy. Putting out a daily or weekly drawing, blog post, or podcast episode? It's not easy. Showing up when it's not convenient isn't easy, but it's all necessary to get to that future version of yourself you dream of. If you've been showing up for a few months and no one is noticing, don't beat yourself up and get discouraged. Finding something you enjoy the shit out of doing and that you're actually kind of good at should be your number one priority. And as my homie Jason Craig stated in episode 43, Passion is something you're willing to suffer for. So what are those things you're willing to suffer for because you love doing them so much? For me, that's drawing, that's creating a podcast, that's waking up early in the morning to craft a speech and then practicing my ass off on my lunch breaks and at home and in front of people to prepare. Those are all the things I'm willing to suffer for. And to build your creative empire, it's going to take a lot of passion and suffering and some sacrifice. But I promise you, it's worth it when things start to click and you see some results. Number 3, the granddaddy of them all is be consistent. And it's one of the biggest reasons I've had any type of success over the last 3 or 4 years. Consistency is key when it comes to reaching any type of goal. Getting that perfect body you have in mind is only possible by consistently showing up in the gym and at home in the kitchen. There's no room for bitching if you show up once a week and then rely on that magic pill you saw in an infomercial. Unlocking that creative status you want is also possible, but through consistent creating, sharing your work, building relationships, sacrifice, and persistency. And actually, there's a lot more that goes into it, but you get my point. It's not going to happen through a magic pill. It's hard to get noticed when you put something out every once in a while. Like say you put out a drawing every couple weeks, put out a video, vlog, blog, whatever. It's really hard to get to your best quality work without consistently kicking out a heaping pile of shitty work over the course of years. But many don't want to hear that. To be honest, to be extremely transparent with you, no one paid attention to my drawings on Instagram for the first year of posting consistently, which was probably back in like 2013. Like nobody paid attention. No one read my weekly blog posts when I started over 2 years ago. For easily 6 to 8 months, I was putting out something weekly. Once I started my podcast, no one listened to it, and I was putting it out weekly for 6 to 8 months. Nobody gave a shit. But I stuck with it. People began paying attention because I had something in front of their face consistently over time. And it sucked in the beginning. And that's the encouraging part, is like you're not going to be very good in the beginning and people won't notice. So, in the beginning, you have all that work to get better, find your cadence, find a rhythm, find some confidence in yourself, develop your process and stick with it and groom it over time and evolve it to the point where people do start paying attention. You're putting out some quality. So just knowing the fact at the beginning, people aren't going to be noticing it. And that's probably good because it's not going to be very good. So use that as an excuse to fine tune it and get better. Let's talk about putting it all together. I'm talking about the whole enchilada, as this episode was meant for the old me who dreamt of that magic pill, who didn't want to invest the effort and expected things to be handed to him. Everything in life worth having requires some type of effort on your end. And I've said this before, this is why I do the show, is that I truly believe you have something great within you, but you have to mine and cultivate it over time. Me personally, I want it so badly for me. I want it, and I'm willing to sacrifice and go and get it. I'm willing to suffer for it, for what I'm passionate about. But I also want it so badly for you. Let's be real, you have to want it yourself. Understanding that it takes time, knowing that it won't be easy, and that consistency is key, shouldn't discourage you. These are the building blocks for the slow and steady grind ahead of you, and it starts by showing up with the right attitude and enjoying it. All it takes is one scroll, swipe, or click to attract a new fan. And a few of those clicks each week adds up to a lot over years, and that's how you build the audience that you want. Are you investing the effort, or are you cutting corners? Use that as your fuel for finishing off the week, and also just finish 2017 off with a bang. All right, with this episode, I've kind of felt like I was channeling the old football coach, Scotty.D.Russell, and the old personal trainer, Scotty.D.Russell. So it's funny how sometimes that comes back around and plays a role in my creative career. So I don't think that side of me will ever die. But again, this is encouragement for you. These might not always be the things you want to hear. I know it's not the things I want to hear, but it's the truth. I'm no wise sage, but I've seen how these things have worked in my career, and I'm still super young into my creative career. I only started finding my stride when I was 26 years old is when I really discovered that drawing was the thing I loved to do, and that it was possible to make something happen from it. And I didn't need to buy into the lie of, I needed a job that I hated for the rest of my life until I retire. I don't believe that myth, and I'm working to build something for myself so I don't have to go down that route, and something I enjoy doing each day, something that I'm actually good at, and then finding a market and a need for it in the world. And that's what I want to encourage you to do. This stuff doesn't happen overnight. And people ask me all the time, like, how I've been able to build any type of little audience I have compared to like me looking at what other people have that are massively larger than mine. But it's a slow and steady grind on my end, and I enjoy it each day. I remember when I had maybe 100 followers. I remember when I was getting 100 listens to each episode. Like, I don't get a ton of listens. I'm not like on Creative Pep Talk or Adventures in Design level of listens on episodes, but that's not the point. I'm not comparing myself against them. And I think a lot of it boils down to comparison. So keep putting out your best work and, sticking to your own pace in life. This is a marathon. This isn't a race to get to, the desired status that you want. So again, this episode was a message to me, but I hope it kind of picked you up as maybe you're dealing with some of these moments of feeling insignificant with, the work you're putting out or the path that you're on. Switching things up. Do you want to get a shout out in each episode, or get critiques on your work, or access to small punching episodes and discounts in my shop? If so, these are just a few of the things you can access by supporting the show over at patreon.com/perspectivepodcast with as little as $1, $3, $5 per episode. Your support helps the show grow and evolve, as it allows me to keep up with recurring costs like audio hosting, web hosting, recording programs, and equipment. Every little pledge helps offset those, so I can devote my time outside the day job to bringing you the best show possible. Again, you can invest in the growth of this show by visiting patreon.com/perspectivepodcast. And another way you can support the show is by leaving a quick ratings and review over on iTunes. It not only helps the show grow, but it gives me a chance to give you a nice little thank you plug, like this week's rating and review. And this one is called Passionate by Dirty Pirates. What an interesting name. Dirty Pirate says, Scotty is a passionate hard worker, and you can feel it in the podcast. Great topics and a good mixture of design and inspiration. Quick, simple, to the point, and I sincerely appreciate you, Mr. Dirty Pirate, or Mrs. Dirty Pirate. Thank you for taking the time to leave a nice little plug, and I hope you feel the love back. Also, I need to give a huge thank you to my homie Nick Jenkins of Blookah for all the dope theme music you hear on this show. You can find more of his music over at soundcloud.com/Blookah. That's BLOOKAH. And then hit him up on Instagram. He's always showing some behind the scenes process of a new song or new jam that he's working on. And as you finish up this week, I want to encourage you to keep showing up, keep putting in the work, and keep creating. You got this.